the floods that hit all over the hill country of Texas. Over 90 people have lost their lives so far. There are still many missing. We are joined now by Congressman Chip Roy, who represents that area of the country. You've been working nonstop. I've seen your social handles. I know you have been going everywhere. We appreciate the time, Congressman. What can you tell us about what you've seen, the latest? What is the situation there on the ground right now?
Yeah, well, I mean, you said it. I mean, those numbers that you're talking about in terms of the total deceased, those numbers keep changing, and they're changing more rapidly today because the recovery missions are really starting to catch up, and they're finding those who unfortunately perished. I think there's still a decent number of unidentified children, but obviously Camp Mystic put out a report or put out a statement, I should say, indicating that 27 had either passed or they've not been able to find yet. And this has been what we've sort of known for the last 48 hours, but we're holding out hope through the rescue process that we might be able to find some survivors. But it's truly devastating in that part of the country. People who are familiar with it know that it's one of the most beautiful parts of the state. There's a reason there are 18 kids camps in that area and have been for years. Camp Mystic was going to turn 100 years old next year. I hope they will continue to stay in operation. There are camps that have been there for generations. People go there. It's a holiday destination, which is why there were so many people, not just at kids camps, but at campgrounds. That's why the numbers are a lot higher than just the girls camps, right? There was people whose RVs were swept away. I went to a part of kind of what's called West Kerrville into Ingram before you get out to Hunt, where all the kids camps are. And I stood in a spot where there had been a whole bunch of RVs and they were just gone. Like literally had just been swept away. And look, the response has been great. I don't want to filibuster here, but the response by the state, the locals, the feds has been extraordinary. People on the ground, the volunteer outreach, the people reaching out to give money, give food, give supplies, show up. There was a line. They had to kind of shut down the volunteer place yesterday because there was just too many people. That's a good problem to have. But, this is going to be a long recovery. So if you want to help, send money, that's great. But be ready to show up in a week or two or three, right? When people start to forget about it, that's when they're going to need the help the most.
Congressman Roy, appreciate you being with us. I know there's a lot going on there, and the whole country's hearts are broken over the loss of life already. To the degree that you can, there's already a lot of talk about early warning. Should there have been more early warning? Are there different systems that need to be in place? I know it's early stage, if you will, in the after action assessment to understand what might have been able to be different, what could have been different. What is your sense of that? Was there a big miss here from the perspective of getting the word out with the proper systems? Or was it more, this is just a once in a century event and there was going to be loss of life just based on the ferocity and the speed of the floods?
Look, I think I've been careful not to get too much into this speculation over the last 72 hours. And you guys are asking this question in good faith, and I appreciate it. And I will give you an answer to my rough thoughts. But I will just conclude one thought, which is I'm still getting text messages today from family members, from friends around the state who are just now discovering the loss of their child. And we've got people, that are grieving. I met with the families night before last who had not yet seen their kids. I was there with the sheriff and the city manager and engaging with them about, DNA collection so they can identify their kids. This is a statement for the rest of the world. It's not directed at you guys, but everybody that's just zeroing in on this and politicizing this right out of the bat. I mean, for the love of everything holy, everything that is good about our people and this country and this state is being displayed right now with everybody going to help people, find people, comfort people, pray for people. The pictures of those little girls singing hymns coming back from the camp, when they had just lost girls in their camp and they're singing hymns, Christian hymns, while they're looking at the damage that I saw yesterday driving down that stretch of the river. So that's just a message to the world. Like, slow your political roll. Goodness gracious. Now, on the question, because it is a relevant question. One, we're going to have to figure this out over time, okay? Nobody knows for sure right now. Two, my sense of it is more the latter of your question. This was a once-in-a-century type of kind of flood. It has flooded before, 1987, previous times. It is prone to flash flooding. Therefore, number three, yes, they probably need a better warning system, sirens, other types of things, but we will go through that process going forward. The local officials, state officials, and we'll be looking at it obviously federally, although it's not really, I think, our direct purview. But I think those things are all true. This nonsense about the Weather Service, that's crap. They had people there. They were putting out warnings. People knew there were going to be flash floods. The only question is trying to determine the severity of it, which brings me to my last point, 5, which is there is bureaucracy. There are systems that are old. We could have better technology. We could have better predictions. We can have less bureaucracy in communicating it. But just keep in mind this final point. It was 4 a.m. on July 4th in the dark, in the hill country, way out away from civilization, when a massive, unprecedented flood drove into basically a canyon area where water got funneled down the river, and it rose 30 feet in less than an hour. That's what happened. So we can try to protect against it, and we can do better, and we should, but let's try to keep perspective in all of this. And I mean that respectfully. I think your question was absolutely in good faith, and I appreciate it.
Chip, everybody who is in this area knows Camp Mystic, it feels like. We're coming up on 100 years. I think next year is supposed to be the 100th anniversary of this.
Yep.
What is Camp Mystic like? What does it mean for people in your district who may not be familiar with it but are learning now? Because unfortunately, so many of these young kids appear to have been victims based on being located there.
Well, I mean, just to give you a couple of data points. Number one, night before last, when I was with all those families, there's a woman there named Mary Liz Eastland. She lost her father-in-law, Dick Eastland, who was the older man who bought that camp in the 1970s, in 1973, who died on the night of the event trying to save little girls. So she had just lost her father-in-law. She's with these families who had just lost their kids, so you can imagine the tension there. But they showed up to shelter each other in love. And the amount of support and outpouring that's been coming out because the families who have gone there for years, it's a part of the culture here. My kids go to a classical Christian school. A large chunk of the kids that go to their school go to Camp Mystic or have been to Camp Mystic. They had friends who were there in this particular week. We had a little girl from our school who was saved, praise the Lord. She was saved. She was kind of floating in the river for a couple of hours. And we've had other stories like that, but we've also had stories of people we know, friends of ours. One of my staffers' fraternity brothers, his daughter was lost. One of the people I used to work in, who I hired into Senator Cruz's office, her daughter's best friend, she passed away. I had a local jeweler who talked to named James Avery. They lost one of their loved ones. The Kansas City Chiefs family lost a loved one. It's hitting everybody, but it's a great and historic camp. And one last thing is, one of my staffers, worked there and talked about what a great man Dick Eastland was, teaching them fly fishing and all the ways of life. This morning, my office, we got a fellow staffer from another Texas office who sent us a box of cookies. And it said at Camp Mystic, Tweety, who was Mr. Eastland's wife, she's still alive, she made cookies, and they were given to campers as a reward for hard work. And they sent us cookies because my staff has been working around the clock for the last 3 days.
Congressman Roy, is there anything that can be done by this audience, by people listening? We have a lot of people who are right in your area, by the way, who are probably 10-minute drive from, or in the county, or a 10-minute drive from the county line. But anything nationwide as well that can be done to assist, to help? Are there organizations that are doing a lot of frontline work that could use support? We just wanted to put that out there.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of great work going on. There's a community foundation in the Hill Country that is collecting a lot of money, and then a lot of food places and so forth. Volunteers can sign up online at it's called tcr.communityos.org. You can find that if you look, or call 830-465-4797 for volunteers to sign up. There are places to be able to give money. That stuff's all going to be out. And if you want to know, just go to my Twitter at ChipRoyTX, ChipRoyTX, or Rep ChipRoy. And I will be putting all of that out with graphics and places where people can give. And my biggest ask is, we've got everybody wanting to come in right now, and I get it, and God bless you for it. but it's hard, right? We can't take everybody and everything right now. This is going to be a multi-week thing. So if you can, volunteer or contribute or engage, next week, in a month, they're going to need it. And so we'll take everything whenever we can, but just know they're going to need it for a while.
Last thing that I appreciate you coming on with us. I know how many hours you're working and how many places you are right now. We're talking to Congressman Chip Roy. Unfortunately, it looks like 100 or more people are going to lose their
Yeah,
lives.
that's
How
right.
many thousands of lives do you think first responders and good people just on the ground there saved? Because a lot of those stories are going to be coming out too. And the amount of life that was saved, I think, and the people who put their lives on the line to do that, there's going to be some incredible stories. What are you already hearing about that?
Yeah, that's right. I mean, look, it does look like tragically we're going to lose about 25 of these precious kids, and mostly, if not entirely, little girls. But there were about 900 or so campers in that whole region across those 18 camps. And we got out, 850, 870 of those kids, and most of the counselors and directors. But there's heroic stories. A camp director who lost her life saving, I think, 5 of those little kids herself, and she was a member of the local church. I met the pastor of that church just randomly when I was down at the lake. And like, this is a community that's a part of our family, right? When I go down to that park, I was going to be there for 4th of July. That was the plan. I go there every year to go listen to Robert Earl Keen, who's one of my favorite Texas country artists, a guy named William Beckman, a Court Moore guy. Down all the time to listen to these guys, and it's just a place everybody goes. There were great stories. Like I said, Dick Eastland, he died trying to save 3 little girls at 4, 5, 6 in the morning when those floods were running through there. And I cannot explain enough for the average viewer how fast that water rose. Like the extent to which going up 26 to 30 feet in about an hour, hour and a half, you can't put it into words. There was a guy who lost 2 daughters, not as part of the camp. He was just in a house down on vacation, and they were in the house, and they said the water was rising a foot per minute, and it just boom, it just came in. So that's what people were dealing with. But there's been a lot of heroic stories, a lot of people who saved lives. Coast Guard guy that basically helped evacuate about 200 of the campers, and so many different stories like that. And we're just deeply appreciative of everybody who's been engaging and helping.
Well, Congressman Roy, our hearts and prayers and thoughts go to the people of Texas Hill Country and the great state of Texas overall. And we'll let you get back to attending to all of them. And thank you for making the time today.
Hey, appreciate you guys. God bless you.